My name is Stuart Palmer. I'm married with 3 children, a number of grandchildren now, and great-grandchildren. In 1981, we made the decision to relocate to Israel. I was very lucky that I knew that I was coming to a job. I had been offered employment in advance, so I didn't have the worry of having to look for work once we had got here. The culture in Britain compared to the culture in Israel is very different, and it takes a lot of getting used to. Being a Jewish religious family, we felt there was much more flexibility to our lives living here in Israel. Many people, when we were preparing to come here, asked us, are we not concerned about the lifestyle, the dangers, the potential dangers? There had been many wars here, but we had a faith that this was our destiny. This was where we wanted to be. Even today, we look back and we feel this was absolutely the right decision for us, in spite of the many trials and tribulations that we've been through during the course of the 42 years here. We had not been in Israel very long, and I had started work in December '81, and 6 months later, going to work one Sunday morning, there was rather a strange experience of very little traffic on the road. And I couldn't understand this. And when I reached the car park of the factory in which I was working, I found it occupied as an army barracks with boats offshore, tanks and tents all over the place. And this was in fact the start of the first Lebanon-War. We lived probably about 45 minutes away from the factory, so the journey home was sometimes quite traumatic. And when we heard on the radio of incoming rockets from Lebanon, we had to pull our car to the side, get out of the car, and getting home sometimes took rather longer than the 45 minutes. The first Lebanon War started because of constant attacks from over the border from Lebanon, with Palestinian factions who were sending terrorists over to try and ambush Israelis on the road or destroy property. And this was an ongoing provocation over a considerable period of time, until ultimately the government decided the only way to bring peace to the Galilee area, which was affected intensely by these attacks, they went to war. But it wasn't considered a war, it was considered a military operation. The Second Lebanon War was a much more serious war. We had to establish a serious safe room. On this occasion, people were asked to prepare the shelters that had been installed in so many apartment buildings. But unfortunately, there were many communities that did not have these facilities and relied on either public shelters that had been built in their communities or literally hiding underneath a table in their apartment. I think in retrospect, if we look at our feelings at the time of that war, there was no fear. However, many people did suffer from trauma, especially if missiles had landed nearby, and particularly those unfortunate families where missiles caused damage to their apartments. But in principle, we felt quite calm about the situation, having faith that our army would do the job that was necessary to bring peace and quiet again. Although peace and quiet again is an expression that unfortunately has been used far too frequently in our history of life here in Israel. For the Arab Muslim population here in Israel, there is a dilemma, because we know from interviews with people, they prefer to live in Israel with the terms and conditions that there are here, in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of many aspects of life which give them a freedom that they would not have if they were living in an Arab country. There have been many initiatives to establish what I would call coexistence projects. But these are by people who have the best of intentions and are to be supported. However, the extremists in the Arab community are still not accepting fully the idea of coexistence. On the other hand, we look at our hospitals and we see working together nurses, doctors, the patients, everyone is treated the same. And this is perhaps the best example of coexistence that there is in the country. There are just so many misconceptions about life in Israel, its geography, its history, and unfortunately people don't delve in to get the facts. They rely on what they read in the media. And it's so important, if you really want to know what's going on in the country, you must try and establish facts. There are plenty of sources for facts which are not based on just editorial opinions. And it's important to know how to delve into the internet. The internet today is a dangerous media, and unfortunately it is being used by our enemies to get a message across which is totally untrue. And I say that very specifically, untrue. The perception which is created, unfortunately, by the media does not give a good picture of what life is really like in Israel. One final message that I would give to anybody who is watching this: come and visit us. Come and meet the people. Come and meet the people at grassroots and learn what life is really like about living in Israel. It's a great place. We have been very happy with our decision to move here, and we would recommend it to anybody.